Good morning. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, everyone. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel. If you're not already, hit the red bell notification icon down in the corner so you'll be notified when I produce new content. Welcome to this special series where I'm introducing healers. We have Miss Kayla on today. She's an international healer, and I say international because she is all the way in Costa Rica. She actually holds space and does workshops and special services that she's going to talk about through Zoom. I worked with her and I am so inspired to come on here and actually do this series. And after the great work that I've experienced, the great healing that I experienced, I was like, people need to know what kind of space holders and healers are out there in the world. And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity and privilege to meet Miss Kayla. Remember to give this video a thumbs up and comment down below if you have any curiosities. My platforms and all my other handles will be all down in the description below, as well as Kayla's. So please, if anything sparks your curiosity, go in at the very least, follow her Instagram because she's always sharing amazing, juicy content on there. And we'll introduce Kayla and she'll talk about the services that she provides to the world. Hi, Kayla.
Hi, Marianne. So good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you for coming and taking the time to speak and be with us and to be with me.
Always a pleasure.
Yes. What do you call yourself? What kind of services do you provide? I think
Yeah.
the title is juicy too. So I want you to take it away.
Yeah. So hi. I'm so happy to be here and I'm thrilled to be in this conversation with you. And yes, my name is Kayla, and I am the founder of In Pleasure We Trust. My job title really is many things, but first and foremost, I am a Freedom Doula, which means I help in supporting, witnessing, and you know, healing, I guess, people through and into the birthing of their liberation, into their freedom. I'm also a pleasure activist. So I use pleasure as the gateway to that expression of freedom. I find pleasure to be a great access point for liberation. And it's one of my favorites to work with. I'm also a love child. So love is, I'd say, the main core value of what I utilize and speak to in every moment, not just my professional space, but my personal space as well. And that also comes through the lens of like a Black feminist lens of a love ethic, which comes from bell hooks, living into a love ethic and what that looks like. And so I do a lot of that work. And I'm also a receptivity alchemist. So I curate spaces of safety and courage so that there can be this capacity for us to receive the life of our freedom, right? So there's one thing in like saying yes to it, right? Finding your deep, pleasurable, satiated yes. And then there's another component of your skillfulness in receiving that yes and being able to really hold and integrate that yes into your body.
Yes. Oh, how wonderful. And I would have to say, from my personal experience, like that's what really helped me with your workshop was like receptivity, was like really bringing my awareness to receptivity. And I know you have a workshop coming up. So can you tell them about that and how that is an access point of receptivity?
Yeah, of course. So In Pleasure We Trust is the name of my upcoming course. It starts on January 11th. And I'm not sure. Oh, I might have lost you again.
Oh, no, you're good. I'm
Okay.
good on my end.
Okay, good. Yeah, so January 11th is the start of it. And it's really about trust. So the pleasure part I think creates a little bit of a distraction for people. They just
Yeah.
see pleasure, ooh, pleasure, you know, and pleasure is a big piece of it. But if we split it into two sentences, in pleasure, period, we trust,
I love
period.
that. Yeah.
So when we are in our satiation, when we are in our fulfillment, when we are in our deep nourishment, we begin to trust again. And the whole purpose is to reestablish trust in the nervous system, in the body, in the heart, in the soul, in the mind. And this is really a recovery program, like for
Yes.
those of us that are in recovery from any sort of toxicity, any sort of oppressive system, any sort of abuse and neglect. This is a course for you, for us, for the collective, for our communities to come together and start to align with and build foundations of trust again. So I'm modeling it in kind of a fun way, like as if we were, you know, starting to trust our finances again, right? So we build a financial portfolio in order to do that. And maybe we'd hire a financial advisor, and maybe we'd hire a financial coach, and, you know, maybe we'd take, you know, a course on systemic oppression around capitalism and the ways that that functions and has been internalized for us. So we're going to be doing the same thing with pleasure in this course. We're going to be building a pleasure portfolio. So we're going to be looking at the ways in which we can build our pleasure capital by investing in it, by becoming aware of it, right? Our pleasure literacy is the first class. First and foremost, we need to become literate in pleasure. We need to understand what pleasure is, what it is, how we define it, because each individual gets to define it for themselves.
I love that.
Yeah, which is super fun. So it's a bit experimental, experiential learning. Everyone's going to be paired with an accountability partner throughout the entirety of the course, so that you guys can be in accountability with each other, checking in, making sure that you're doing the practices that you want to be doing that bring you fulfillment and satiation. And then we're going to see by the last class, which is called Pleasure Trusts, where we're at with our nervous system and our embodiment of trust. So we're going to utilize pleasure to establish deep, deep knowing of self and trust of the world in which we live. Wow. Because we're building new worlds. We're building trustworthy worlds together in this.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. It's super fun. And, you know, it's something that pleasure has brought me so much embodied trust. The more I step into the satiation, the enjoyment, the fulfillment, I am able to really trust my world. I'm really able to trust my relationships. And I'm able to understand that this life is meant to be trustworthy. It's not meant to be scary and violent and harmful and oppressive. It's meant to be liberating. It's meant to be joyful and secure for us. Now, it's not to bypass any of the things that are real, but it's to say, in the face of those real adversities, I'm willing to try something new and different and establish a new way of being. And therefore, in showing up for that, I am a trustworthy survivor, right? I'm a trustworthy survivor of the consequences of oppression. And I then become, you know, a messenger and a leader in my community for safe, courageous space to continue to move forward on this path. So, you know, anyone's interested in that.
Oh my gosh, so juicy. Yes, I mean, just feeling that, what you're saying, like just the nervous system already response that I feel is like, yes, we need more of it. Give me.
Yeah.
And that's what I love, is that you have, you know, your class, I met you during the initial rise of the pandemic last year, which I was not feeling pleasurable at all. I don't think anybody was. There was a lot of fear then. And you created this space because your workshops are on Zoom. So I just want to emphasize that to everyone. How they get to work with you right now is Zoom. Right.
Yes, that's how my business has been since I started 4 years ago. Yep, always
amazing. And that's why I said you're an international healer. I would never have guessed. I worked with somebody all the way in Costa Rica, amazing woman like you, but now I have that in my nervous system, and it feels so good to say, and it feels so good to have you here on again. Anyway, I was saying that like it gave me an opportunity of feeling pleasure and building a relationship with self is what your workshop did for me last, so how nice that you hold the space for people to have that.
Yeah, it's a gift of my own recovery. So I'm on a path of deep sobriety and recovery in all terms of all senses of the term. So I've given up a lot of substances and different kind of foods and, kind of these processed, convenient lifestyles that have created a lot of harm to many people in taking away agency and getting us addicted to dopamine, which is a very common trauma response. We're gonna go into these patterns if we are in a traumatic experience. And I would say that if you are alive today, you are living in a traumatic experience. If you're alive and awake, let's just to say there's traumatic experiencing happening for you. Now there's big T, little t types of traumas, and within systems of oppression, there's hierarchy. So marginalized folks experience trauma in different ways than privileged or dominant groups experience trauma, but we're all experiencing trauma, and we're in a pretty vicious cycle of it in this moment as we are still navigating what it means to go through a global pandemic. And I really think it's important, more so now than ever, to really utilize what is true and trustworthy. And it's not going to be instant gratification anymore. That's not going to work. Consumerism is not going to work. A lot of people are starting to get online with, things need to be not just sustainable, but things need to be regenerative. They need to feed from each other in a symbiotic way. That is super nourishing. And it really is survival of the nourished. Tara Brach, one of my favorite teachers, speaks to this a lot in her teachings around survival. It's really turned into survival of the nourished. If you're not nourishing yourself, if you're not in this state of knowing that you are whole and complete as you are in this moment, the world will rock you and it will shake you. And I really want to help people heal this aspect of not enoughness and feel into what is enough right now, right here in this moment. What the biggest piece of In Pleasure We Trust is I'm not asking you to go out and buy anything unless it is a deep, deep satiated yes and a sense of fulfillment in you. What's so great about pleasure practice is that it's accessible without you having to go consume anything. It's an innate inheritance, right? So this is also pleasure inheritance that we're going to be talking about in the course. How are you spending your inheritance? How are you investing your inheritance? How are you protecting and securing your inheritance? We've all been born with this inherent ability to feel pleasure.
Yes.
That's not a mistake. That's not oh, I wonder why that happened. No, after thousands and thousands and millions of years of evolutionary history, our bodies are hardwired for it. So there is something there that is very healing, that is very critical to the
Mm-hmm.
success of the species itself, like even just on a
Mm.
biological
Yes.
level.
Yes.
And to come back to that nature, because nature is brilliant. Nature has survived all of this somehow, some way. Our cells are still working and churning and burning and keeping us alive. And
Yeah.
I feel like that is one of the most trustworthy things we can go towards when we are seeking trust, when
Mm-hmm.
we are seeking recovery, when we are seeking repair from harm and violence that has been happening for a long time in various ways. So yeah, I'm a believer of life itself and the gift that it is to be here right now in this moment. So I just like to tap into that as often as possible and share that with others as a space of nourishment.
Yes, I love that. And I remember you saying one thing. You also have a degree in marine biology, right? Yes.
Yeah, so I go to biology a lot. Yeah.
So it coincides with our biology, the Earth's biology. But I remember you saying, and I'll always remember this, something that you had said in your workshop is like, it's so nice that we have these other teachers, influencers, gurus, and stuff like that talking about like 5D and all the time, right? But what about just the three worldly, earthly, human like responsibility that we have and like doing and just embodying of our human nature. So I love that you don't like bypass that
Mhm.
to go to something grander or higher or something that sounds like just more magical. I don't know. There's a lot of highlight on that right now. There's a lot of highlight about ascension and, enlightenment. But what about the responsibility that we have just as human and to ourself and just co-creating with each other as human beings, like coming down back to just the simplest birthright, right?
Mhm. Yes. Which
Mm-hmm.
is this body. I'm very carnal. I'm very carnal when it comes to this work of healing and the path. Because for me, again, so much of my own healing coming from various personal spaces, but also just being born into the world and
Yeah.
being socialized as, a Black, queer, polyamorous femme.
Yeah.
There's a lot that I have to mitigate from the day to day to safeguard my body,
Yeah.
as well as my mind, my heart, my spirit, my soul. And those
Yeah.
things are real, like those things are real and they affect, I would say, the majority of the planet. There are very few who are unaffected by systems at large. And
Yeah,
this
we're all
is
subjected to stuff like that that's violent or that's not integrity, to us,
exactly.
to our nervous system.
Yeah, I was even reading something about the anxiety, I think it's called eco anxiety, and the anxiety that's produced in our nervous systems, knowing about climate change and,
Mm-hmm.
the West Coast fires that were happening
Yeah.
a few months ago. Like all of that, impacts our psyche, whether we are like in the fire or watching it on the news or just
Oh,
hearing
yeah.
about it through social media. So all of these things, right? And then it goes into that loophole of like, well, why are there fires? Well, there's fires because the genocide of indigenous people and the caretakers of the land, and we're no longer so all of these things are impacting and we're
Mhm.
internalizing those violences and those harms, whether we like it or not, whether we're conscious of it or not. It's
Yeah.
impacting our nervous system. It's impacting our daily choices and our access to agency and
Yeah.
awareness. And so because of that, there's a lot of work to be done.
Yes.
This is an aspect of liberation that I think doesn't get talked about a lot. Like there's aspects of liberation, like going out and like being an activist, like out there in the world and like marching and making your signs and donating to different causes. And, all of these things are so critical to the liberation movement. So I don't want anyone to think that this is the only thing you have to do in order to be part of that movement. But this is also a very critical piece of the liberation movement, is this inherent, innate, individual expression of healing and liberation through your own body, and taking accountability and responsibility for your freedom. You know, Harriet Tubman talks like as if she's still here. Maybe she is. Maybe she's just swooped in. Hi, Harriet. Good to see you. So Harriet Tubman wrote about this a lot, actually. She said, I always knew I had to free myself first in order to do the work of service that God had bestowed upon me. You know, she had a very...
Starts with the self. Yeah.
She had a very spiritual connection. And so she developed the Underground Railroad and eventually ended up freeing, you know, thousands of slaves because of that movement that she chose for herself first. She ran away from her slave owner first and found her own freedom in Philadelphia first. And then she said, all right, I'm going back for more. And so, you know, it's really important that if anyone's interested in healing, if anyone's interested in liberation, if anyone's interested in peace on this planet, then it has to be found in yourself.
Yes, that's what your work does. It initiates, it's like a self-initiation,
a
self-realization, with intimacy, love, and trust, though. So it's so juicy.
Oh yeah,
it opens you right on up.
The only way that's really going to be regenerative, right? And so I think it's important to understand that it's always a process too. So it's like going to the gym. Like, your self-work is your lifetime work.
Yes.
And it takes many different forms. So it's not like, okay, I'm going to free myself first and I'm going to do my healing first, and then I'm going to go teach, and then I'm going to go share, and then I'm going to go support others and be in solidarity with others. No, because that day would never come, because my healing is the rest of my life. Right. So
always a continuous thing, a journey. Right.
Yeah. And I think, you know, in pleasure we trust is really this like ability for us to build the capacity, our capacity to be with multiple truths, multiple worlds, multiple people, to love through difference. It just expands your availability, because you're coming from a resourced space now. And it literally builds new worlds and new communities. So it's like, I get super excited. I could talk about it forever.
Yes, you did a great job. Yes. Thank you so much, Kayla. You did a great job. And for anyone that has more questions, more curiosity, please go follow Miss Kayla. I will link her website down below and her handles to all her platforms that's accessible to her, and me as well. Make sure to like this video, and at the very least, please try to join her workshop, because it was the most experimental, most satiating, most profound thing that I ever did. That, wow, it was just your work, what you say and how you bring it to the world is just, it's so enlightening, but without having to like, because usually, you know, I'm doing like yoga for all this enlightenment, like, or I'll go into a meditation, but it's like just the basics of human relationship and communion and talking and active listening and just communicating with each other as human beings that are witnessing, and feeling that openness in your nervous system is profound. And that's why I was looking so forward to even just having this conversation with you. Having embodied conscious conversations with people is so satiating.
Oh,
so pleasurable.
Yeah, this moment right now with you, just looking at your gorgeous face and tuning into your light and your service, and being able to be in this regenerative, collaborative space together as colleagues and clients and teachers and students, and really saying yes to you know, the multiplicity of the truth of who both of us are is it's so pleasurable. And
it's so sustainable too. It's like sustainable. I can feel it. I feel so resourced, you know, I feel so watered.
Totally. And I want to also offer for any of those who've like listened to the end of this
Yeah.
call, end of this recording, end of this YouTube video, I want to offer just like a promotional code
Okay.
for my workshop.
Great.
Yeah, I want to give
Good.
I want to give a 10% discount to anyone who's, you know, really listened to the end of this. And so when you fill out the application, if you go on my website, inpleasurewetrust.com, all the links will be, I'm sure, in the notes. When you fill out the application and you apply for the program, I'll have a little promo code question.
Okay.
What's the promo code for this one? So I think the promo code for this one is going to be Healer 10.
All right. Healer 10, everybody.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for offering that.
And
Woo!
that's so Healer, let's do Healer, all capital, and then the number 10.
Okay. And that gives them 10% off.
10% off. So the course is $555. It drops it down to $500, and payment plans are also available for people too.
Great. And it's an eight-week course, right, Kayla?
It's a 6-week course.
Oh, 6. Okay.
There's 5 live sessions. We have 1 week where we're going to take a pleasure pause because we're going to practice pausing, which is a big component of, you know, ensuing trust back into our nervous systems. And then it also includes a private 75-minute session with me.
Wow. That's a deal. That's a deal, everybody. Thank you, Kayla, so much. Please, everyone, go check her out. Go give her some love. Is such a love child. She truly is. And I hope you all felt that in your nervous system and your bodies today. I know I did. So I hope it's rippling out into the universe and all who witnessed today. Thank you, Miss Kayla. Such a pleasure. And I will see you soon, my dear. Namaste.
Thank you, Marianne.